In the sun-kissed hills of Akosombo, where the Volta River whispers ancient secrets to the cocoa groves, one act of unchecked arrogance forever alters two destinies. A spoiled heir's rage scars a humble soul, but a father's unyielding justice binds them in matrimony, not in celebration, but in atonement. As pride clashes with resilience, wounds seek healing, and hatred flickers toward unforeseen tenderness, a tale unfolds of transformation no oracle could foretell. Can suffering forge love from ashes, or will it consume them both? Journey into this saga of Ghanaian heart and heart, where the ancestors watch, and redemption blooms from the thorniest soil. In the lush hills of Akosombo, a bustling village along the Volta River in Ghana, stood the grand compound of Mensa, the wealthiest cocoa trader in the region. His sprawling home was a blend of traditional mud brick walls adorned with vibrant Kente cloth patterns and modern extensions of polished concrete, complete with a shiny metal gate and a fleet of gleaming SUVs parked under a mango tree. A towering man in his 50s with a salt and pepper beard, commanded respect from the village elders to the market women. He wore crisp border robes for meetings and carried a carved walking stick that symbolized his status. His wife, Kwadwo, was the picture of village elegance, her head wraps always colorful, her gold bangles jingling as she hosted gatherings for the women's cooperative she led. But for years, their greatest longing wasn't for more land or bigger shipments of cocoa beans. It was for a child. They had visited herbalists in the hills, consulted priests at the local shrine, and even traveled to Accra for modern treatments. When their son, Kwadwo, finally arrived after 15 years of waiting, the entire village erupted in celebration. Drummers pounded talking drums under the baobab tree, libations of palm wine were poured to the ancestors, and neighbors brought yams, fufu, and fresh tilapia as gifts. And Kwadwo held Kwadwo close, whispering promises to the stars, "This boy will have the world. We will deny him nothing." At first, it was pure joy. Kwadwo was a chubby infant with deep ebony skin and eyes like polished obsidian. Kwadwo nursed him under the shade of the compound's veranda, singing true lullabies, while bounced him on his knee, declaring, "My little chief." But that vow, to give him everything, soon twisted into something sharper. When Kwadwo first, Kwadwo rushed with carved wooden toys from the artisans or sweet plantains from the kitchen. When he wailed, you summoned the household help to fetch fresh coconut water or a storyteller to amuse him. By age 3, Kwadwo had learned the power of his cries, the village bent to his whims. By 5, his room in the family quarters overflowed with treasures, a miniature tiao boss, sets of ochre-printed soldiers, and even a battery-powered lantern that mimicked the harmattan winds. Yet Kwadwo never uttered Meadows, "Thank you." He simply pointed a pudgy finger and demanded, "Bring more." One humid afternoon, the head housekeeper, Auntie Efua, knelt beside him with a bowl of groundnut soup. "Kwadwo, when someone serves you, you say Meadows to honor them," she said gently, her wrapper tied neatly around her waist. Kwadwo, clutching a wooden stool like a throne, scowled and hurled it across the room. It clattered against the wall, splintering slightly. "You are just a house girl. I don't owe you words." Auntie Efua's eyes welled up, but when you entered, drawn by the noise, he only chuckled awkwardly. "Boys test their strength. He'll learn in time," he said, tousling Kwadwo's hair. Kwadwo nodded fiercely, pulling her son into a protective embrace as if Efua were the intruder. But Kwadwo didn't learn. He grew into his entitlement like a baobab rooting deeper into the earth. At the village school, under the thatched roof where chalkboards leaned against palm fronds, Kwadwo rode like a mini chief. He shoved boys off the football pitch, snatched girls' mangoes from their lunches, and hurled insults like a bush rat at anyone who crossed him. The teacher sent notes on faded paper, but Adwa burned them in the cooking fire before you could read them fully. "Our Kwadwo is just full of fire," she'd tell the headmaster over shared kenki. By 12, Kwadwo saw himself as untouchable. He ignored the farmers who greeted him with akwaba, sneered at the cook's jollof rice, too spicy, too slow, and never lifted a hand to help fetch water from the river or weed the cocoa groves. One rainy evening at 14, after a teacher caned him for stealing a classmate's exercise book, Kwadwo stormed home and kicked over a clay pot of fermented cassava. It shattered, spilling everywhere. Adwa rushed to him, wailing about the injustice, while the house helped quietly mop the mess. In the shadows of the kitchen, the staff murmured in Jie and Chui, "That boy has no akoma heart." One day, his pride would choke him. But none dared voice it to your Adwa. By 21, Kwadwo was tall and striking, with a fade haircut and shirts imported from Accra that hugged his athletic frame. He drove his father's Land Cruiser recklessly through the village paths, blasting hip life from the speakers. At the local university in nearby Koforidua, he skipped lectures on agribusiness, bullied juniors into doing his assignments, and flashed your name to dodge exams. Back in Akosombo, he treated the compound staff like shadows. When the gardener, Uncle Kojo, trimmed the hibiscus a minute late, Kwadwo shoved the shears from his hand. "Useless old man." Adwa only could, "Come, my lion. He'll improve." The staff cowered at his approach, their whispers growing fearful. Kwadwo's temper is like a bushfire, quick and unforgiving. Yet you and Adwa remained enchanted, calling him their golden heir, believing gold could polish any flaw. They couldn't foresee how one scorching morning would ignite the truth. The Mensa compound gleamed under the equatorial sun, its walls whitewashed, its gardens bursting with hibiscus and frangipani, its gate guarded by a watchman in a faded uniform. But inside, the air hummed with unspoken tension, the staff moved like gazelles, alert to Kwadwo's moods. One misty harmattan morning, a new face arrived, Akosua Boten, a slender 19-year-old from the distant fishing village of Ada. Her skin glowed like polished mahogany, her eyes held the quiet depth of the Volta, but exhaustion lined her young face. She carried a woven basket with her few belongings, a faded Bible, a spare cloth, and dreams of supporting her widowed mother and two younger brothers through school. "Auntie Efwa," she said shyly in Twi, bowing slightly. The head housekeeper nodded, her face kind but wary. "You'll help in the kitchen and with the chores. Work hard, and the ancestors will protect you." She glanced toward the main house, where Kwadwo's laughter boomed from a phone call. "Just stay out of the young master's way." Akosua was diligent, her hands callous from years of mending nets and pounding fufu. She scrubbed the compound floors until they shone, folded linens with precise creases, and stirred banku pots over open fires without complaint. The other help warmed to her. Auntie Efwa called her the quiet blessing, and Uncle Kojo shared stories of river spirits during breaks. But Kwadwo noticed her. One afternoon, as Akosua balanced a tray of chilled sobolo through the courtyard, Kwadwo lounged on the veranda, scrolling his phone. His eyes flicked up, narrowing. "Who is this village girl?" he called loudly, his voice carrying like a chief's decree. Akosua froze, lowering her gaze. I'm Akosombo, sir. The new help. Kwadwo sauntered over, his sandals slapping the earth, circling her slowly. Akosombo, he drawled, smirking. From the foamy sea town, eh? Don't bring that fishy smell here. Her cheeks flamed, but she murmured, yes, sir, and hurried away. The staff exchanged glances but said nothing. Silence was survival. From then on, Akosombo became his favorite target. If she swept the veranda, he'd kick dust back and scoff, still filthy. If she served his waakye, he'd push the plate away, too bland, like your talk. If she spoke in her soft Ede dialect, he'd mimic it cruelly, speak like a proper person, not some river rat. The others pitied her, whispering during palm oil sessions, "Endure, Akosombo. His storm will pass." But Kwadwo's cruelty only gathered like thunderclouds. One evening in the smoky kitchen, as Akosombo ground cassava into curry, Kwadwo leaned against the doorframe. "Tell me, Akosombo, do you like bowing to people like me?" Her pestle paused, but she replied evenly, "I like doing good work, sir." He laughed sharply. "Work? You were born to scrub for chiefs like me. Remember that." Akosombo bit her lip, the words stinging like pepper soup gone wrong. She thought of her brother's hungry eyes, her mother's frail hands. "Yes, sir," she whispered, head bowed. That night, in the cramped servants' quarters, she prayed to Nyan for strength, dreaming of coins for school fees and a life beyond servitude. But dreams couldn't douse the fire building within Kwadwo, and one fateful morning, it would erupt. It was a sweltering March dawn in Akosombo, the air thick with the scent of blooming frangipani and distant river mist. Akosombo rose before the roosters, wrapping her lapel tightly against the chill, and hurried to the outdoor kitchen. The charcoal stove glowed as she filled a large metal kettle with water from the borehole, setting it to boil for Kwadwo's morning tea, his ritual since university. Upstairs in the main house, Kwadwo paced his room, head throbbing from a late night of palm wine with village friends. He jabbed the call bell repeatedly, ding ding ding, like a demand to the gods. Akosombo heard it, her pulse quickening. She checked the kettle, bubbles were forming, but not yet raging. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Akosombo. Kwadwo bellowed, bursting into the kitchen, his face twisted in fury. "The water's almost ready, sir, just a moment," she stammered, hands fluttering. But Kwadwo's rage boiled faster. "I said now. Not your slow village time." He lunged for the kettle's handle, the steam hissing like an angry serpent. In blind anger, he yanked it up and flung the contents forward. Scalding water cascaded across Akosombo's face and chest. Her scream shattered the morning, a raw, piercing wail that echoed through the compound. She collapsed to the dirt floor, clutching her blistering skin, tears mixing with the burns as agony ripped through her. The empty kettle clanged from Kwadwo's numb hand. For a heartbeat, silence reigned, broken only by her gasps. Then, coldly, he muttered, "That's what happens when you test a chief's patience." The staff rushed in, Auntie Effu aghast, covering her mouth. Uncle Kojo yelled, "You demon, what madness is this?" Yo and Adwa arrived, drawn by the chaos. Adwa shrieked at the sight of Akosombo riding, her lapel soaked red. Yo's face drained of color, then flushed crimson as he warred on his son. Kwadwo. What evil have you unleashed? Kwadwo shrugged, though his stomach churned. She was lazy. I taught her speed. Adwa knelt, cradling Akosombo, murmuring prayers to the ancestors. Fetch the village healer, now, she cried. You seized Kwadwo's collar, shaking him. You've marked her forever, boy. Do you grasp your sin? But Kwadwo only sneered faintly, a flicker of unease buried deep. As the staff loaded Akosombo into the back of Yo's SUV for the bumpy ride to the clinic in Atimpoku, the compound fell into horrified quiet. For the first time, Yo and Adwa beheld the monster their indulgence had forged. That morning scarred more than Akosombo's flesh. It etched regret into Kwadwo's soul, a wound time alone couldn't heal. The clinic in Atimpoku smelled of iodine and boiled herbs, the fans whirring lazily against the heat. Akosombo lay on a cot, her face swayed in cool aloe leaves and gauze, the burns throbbing like fire ants under her skin. The nurse, a stern woman from the Yu tribe, shook her head gravely to Auntie Efua. The scars will stay. She's young, too young for this burden. In the waiting area, Yo paced the cracked tile floor, his walking stick tapping like a war drum. Adwa clutched her beads, whispering, if the police come from Accra, Kwadwo will rot in Sowon prison. Our heir, in chains. Yo halted, fist balled. He deserves the cage. That girl's life is shattered. But he's our blood, Yo, the only fruit of our weight, Adwa pleaded, tears carving paths through her powder. Just then, Kwadwo sauntered in, hands in pockets, face a mask of indifference. He glanced at Akosombo's form and looked away, yawning. Adwa rushed him. Kwadwo, see what your fire has done. He cut her off sharply. She delayed my tea. If she'd moved faster, no harm. Yo's roar shook the walls. Blind fool. People aren't your playthings. Kwadwo jerked free. She's just help, why the drama? Adwa's sobs filled the room. When Akosombo stirred, her eyes glassy through the wrappings, Adwa held her hand. Child, please, no police. We'll pay the healers, support your mother. Mercy for our sake. Akosombo's voice cracked like dry earth. Why shield him? He laughed as I burned. Adwa's tears fell on the cot. Prison would devour him. Think of your brothers, we'll fund their books, their fees. Exhausted, pain clouding her mind, Akosombo nodded faintly. Go, let me rest. Relief flooded Adwa, but Yo watched Kwadwo smirk from the doorway, his resolve hardening like ironwood. That night, back in the compound, Yo sat alone by the fire pit, stars wheeling overhead. Adwa joined him, eyes puffy. What now? His voice was granite. Jail won't mend him. We've fattened his pride into poison. If he scorns her as lowborn, let him wed her, face his sin daily. Adwa gasped. Marriage. To the help. Yo nodded grimly. His cage won't be bars. It'll be her eyes, her scars. Only then will shame teach him. In the flickering flames, the decree was sealed, not with gold, but with the weight of ancestors' judgment. The next dawn, Yo summoned Kwadwo to his office, a room lined with cocoa ledgers and ancestral stools. Kwadwo slouched in, smirking as if the banns were yesterday's rain. "You will marry Akosombo," you stated flatly. Kwadwo exploded in laughter, slapping his knee. "Marry the help. Father, you're mad from the sun." Yo's fist crashed on the desk, the echo like thunder over the Volta. "No jest. Wed her, or face the magistrate. Your name in the village crier's mouth, Kwadwo Mensah, jailbird." Kwadwo's mate died, his father's gaze like a spear. Adwa hovered at the door, voice quivering, "Refuse, and you're cut from the wheel, no land, no trade, nothing." The threat landed like a felled palm. Kwadwo's life was woven from wealth, the compound, the SUVs, the cocoa empire. Stripped bare, he'd be dust. "You can't mean it," he snarled. "She's scarred trash, beneath even the dogs. She's your mirror," you thundered. "Gaze at her daily, remember your hand in her pain. That's your sentence." Kwadwo's fist clenched, rage warring with fear. He'd seen Yo's unyielding eyes in deals gone sour, but never aimed at him. At the clinic, Adwa knelt by Akosombo's cot, unveiling the plan. Akosombo's bandaged face twisted in horror. "Marry him. The one who cursed me with this." Adwa wept, clasping her hands. "I know, child. But consider, shelter, gold for your family. We'll guard you like kin." Akosombo shook her head. "Guard me from what?" "Save him." "Why?" "Because ruin begets more shadows," Adwa begged. "You've borne enough, don't let hate chain you further." Akosombo stared at the ceiling, thoughts of her brother's threadbare uniforms flashing. With a shattered breath, she murmured, "Fine. Not for him, for them." The wedding was hushed, a private rite under the baobab tree, away from village tongues. No high-life bands, no fufu feasts, no Kente processions, just the family priest, staff, and a single drummer beating a somber rhythm. Akosombo wore a simple white cover and slit, the fabric heavy as chains, her veil hiding the worst of the scars. In a side room, Kwadwo tugged at his agbada collar, growling, "This fast ends me. You entered sternly, vow true, or lose all." The priest chanted in Twi, "Kwadwo Mensah, do you take Akosombo Boten as wife, to honor and protect?" Kwadwo's jaw ground, the words slithered out, "I do." Akosombo's voice, soft but still, "I do." Adwa dabbed tears, Yo's face was carved wood. Papers signed on a stool, Kwadwo tossed the pen. "Done with this nonsense. No embrace, no cheers, just the wind sighing through the leaves." That night, in the bridal chamber with its woven mat and mosquito net, Akosombo sat rigid, the weight of chains invisible but ironclad. She was bound to her tormentor. "I will not break," she whispered to the ancestors. "I will rise." Two fractured spirits, yoked not by joy, but by justice. The morning after dawned heavy, the baobab's leaves drooping as if in mourning. Akosombo moved into Kwadwo's quarters, a spacious room with a four-poster bed, ceiling fans whirring lazily, and walls hung with family photos. To her, it was less home than trap. She perched on the bed's edge, turning her scarred cheek from the cracked mirror. Kwadwo acted as if the vows were vapor. He flung his shirt on a chair, stretched with a yawn, and slept with his back to her, snoring like distant thunder. Akosombo lay awake, the space between them vast as the Volta. Days blurred, she rose to pound fufu, sweep the compound, serve meals, now as wife. Kwadwo ignored her, save for Babs when friends visited, lounging under the mango tree with bottles of club beer. "Meet my village bride," he'd sneer, waving at Akosombo as she brought groundnuts. Laughter erupted, eyes raking her scars. She bowed her head, heat rising, but said nothing. Adwo watched from the kitchen, heart aching at Akosombo's glistening eyes. That eve, she pulled her aside. "Patience, child. The river carves stone slowly." Akosombo nodded, though doubt gnawed. "Then you summon Kwadwo, mock her again, and the inheritance burns like chaff." Kwadwo's scoff faltered, threats were no longer empty. At supper, his tongue sharpened for a jab, but he swallowed it, chewing banku in silence. Akosombo noticed, serving without thorns for the first time. Relief flickered, small as a firefly. She shifted tactics, not tears, but calm words. When he begged for water, she placed the calabash down gently, "Edmedos sweetens the gift." He rolled his eyes, but the phrase lingered like smoke. Next morn, handing his tea, he muttered, "Medos." Akosombo blinked, stunned. The first crack in his armor. Kwadwo still strode the compound like a peacock, his pride a shield. Yet Akosombo's quiet fire began to erode it. One sticky afternoon, as they headed to Yo's warehouse in the SUV, the driver hit a pothole, delaying them. Kwadwo snapped, "Idiot. Drive like a man." Akosombo, beside him, said nothing, but stepped out at the next bend, walking back toward the compound. Kwadwo leaned out, "Where to?" Her voice cut clear, "I won't ride with a man who whips words like a lash." The driver gaped, Kwadwo ceded, but her steady gaze quenched his flare. He sat back, stewing. That night, pacing his room, her words echoed. Awkwardly, he approached where she mended a torn lapper. "Sorry for the shouting." Akosombo looked up, surprise softening her eyes. "Good. Say it till it sticks." He turned away, cheeks burning, not from rage, but shame. Her poise exposed his pettiness. Nights brought dreams, the scream, the splash, Akosombo's face twisting. He'd wake sweating, guilt clawing. At breakfast, he'd steal glances at her scars, the story of his cruelty etched there. Swallowing hard, he'd mutter nothing, but Akosombo saw the flicker, offering tea, warm, like friendship should be. He sipped in quiet, the fissures widening. Yo pressed further, calling Kwadwo to the warehouse, "No more chief's son. Start loading sacks like the laborers." Kwadwo reeled, "Me? With calluses." Yo's eyes blazed, "Earn your crown, or lose it." The next day, Kwadwo hauled cocoa bags under the sun, sweat stinging, workers eyeing him warily. When he barked at a boy for dropping a sack, the lad shrugged and walked off. Kwadwo stood, deflated, ignored, not feared. Home that eve, he vented to Akosombo, who folded linens calmly, "Respect isn't snatched like fruit. It's grown, like cocoa pods." He argued, but silence followed. Next day, he greeted a laborer, "Morning." The man nodded, surprised. A spark warmed Kwadwo, and, not demanded. Akosombo's lesson seeped in. When supper lagged, she slid a dog-eared novel his way, read, Time bends to stories. He grumbled, but pages turned, patience blooming. One night, clearing plates, Kwadwo rose, stacking them himself. Staff stared, Akosombo's eyes widened. He shrugged, just helping. Her gaze softened. Perhaps the yoke was forging, not breaking. The compound's nights cooled as rainy season loomed, crickets chorusing under the stars. Akosombo sat on the veranda one eve, wrapped in a throw, chuckling at a radio serial on her small transistor, Tales of Cunning Anansi the Spider. Her laugh bubbled light, unexpected. Kwadwo, fetching water from the tank, paused. He'd only known her bowed, silent, tear-streaked. This sound, pure, alive, froze him. A genuine smile tugged his lips, shy. Akosombo caught his stare. What? He shifted. Never heard you laugh. It's nice. She braced for mockery, but saw only warmth. Confused, she turned back, heart fluttering. He sat nearby, listening though words escaped him. That night, her laugh replayed in his mind. She wasn't the river rat he'd scorned. She endured his storms, yet found joy in spider's tricks. It humbled him, stirring something tender. Mornings shifted. When the cook delayed, Kwadwo's temper rose, but Akosombo met it. Shout if you must, but I tune it out like market noise. The compound hushed, no one defied Kwadwo. His flare dimmed under her calm. Akosombo, he said later, haltingly, need anything. She paused mid-chore. Why ask? Because I should. Adwoa, eavesdropping, wept silently to your, the ancestor star him. Kwadwo dropped housewife Babs, saying her name instead, each Akosombo a bridge acknowledging her still. Rains drummed the roof as season deepened, turning paths to mud. Kwadwo's sleep fractured, nightmares of the kettle, Akosombo's wail, water hissing like vipers. He'd both awake, chest heaving. One dawn, he found her by the window, weaving a basket. Sitting opposite, pale, he confessed, I see it every night, the poor, your scream. Akosombo set her work aside, eyes level, good. Let guilt birth kindness. The words pierced, he bowed his head, no defense rising. Silence stretched, heavy with truth. She watched him, months of waiting for this crack. Softening, she said, you can't unpour the water, Kwadwo. But you can quench the fire left. He met her gaze, scars a map of his fault, and her grace. I want to, he rasped. Guilt evolved from torment to catalyst. Small acts followed, lifting her water jug unasked, fetching high herbs from the shelf. Staff whispered, the lion cubs now. When her knife nicked her thumb slicing yam, Kwadwo darted in, binding it with cloth, hands gentle. Why, she breathed. I scarred you once. Won't again. Tears pricked her eyes, sincerity shone, not show. Adwoa glimpsed it, hand to heart, Niam hasn't forsaken him. Kindness fit Kwadwo like a new cloth, stronger than swagger. Kwadwo load delays, food tardy meant feast on tables, drivers slow, curses flew. But Akosombo tested him anew. One eve, fufu steaming late, his fingers drummed. She slid a folklore book, stories swallow time. He huffed, I don't read for peace. Her eyes held, then grew into it. Curiosity won, pages turned, tales of sly hair unfolding. When fufu arrived, he barely noted. Bed that night, time's fluidity lingered, patience, not cage, but ally. At the warehouse, he waited out colleagues' words, queried errors gently. A foreman nodded, you're steadying, Mensa. Pride bloomed, humble. Home, he aided, setting stools for meals, carrying pots. Akosombo's faint smiles escaped. One twilight, I like your nearness, he murmured. She flushed, unspoken warmth kindling. Yohan Adua sensed it at family supper, Akosombo's kenki steaming. Kwadwo cleared his throat, Akosombo, medals for the food. Spoons paused, Adua gasped, you smiled rare. Akosombo whispered, you're welcome. Silence warmed, like first rain. Adua later to you, the forcing wasn't curse, it was grace. He sighed, we erred in spoiling. But hope roots now. Eves quieted, fireflies dancing. Kwadwo watched Akosombo mend a basket by lantern light, words brewing. I never truly apologized, he said, voice cracking. She looked up, for what? All, the water, the mocks, your stolen peace. I was poison, blind with pride. You deserved stars, not scars. Her hands stilled, tears brimming, pain long buried surfacing. Mean it. He leaned in, with my soul. Lips trembling, prove it in deeds, words wash away like rain. He vowed silently, honoring it daily. Acts flowered, ditching mocking friends for kitchen chats, fumbling yam peels beside her, her chuckles lightening him. One night, she napped on the mat, book sleeping. He dripped a throw, whispering, stronger than rivers, Akosombo. Another eve, flour dusted them baking bread, she teased his mess, laughter shared. Adua to your, love grows, unforced. By window light, Kwadwo turned, Akosombo, let me find healers in Accra, for the scars. She froze, heal them. I wrought them. Least I mend. Years hidden, mirrors shunned, tears welled. Truly. Yes. But no, your beauty unbroken, scars or no. She believed, no pity tainting. You're summoned across finest, surgery spanned hours. Kwadwo paced the clinic corridor, heart storming. Success came, bandages peeled to reveal softened skin, lines faint. Akosombo mirrored herself, weeping, me again. Kwadwo's hand on her shoulder, always you, beauty eternal. She turned, seeing not tormentor, but transformer. Their tale transcended punishment, redemption's bloom. Post-surgery, Akosombo's air lightened. Akosombo walked unveiled, head high, scars whispers now. Kwadwo beheld her, wife, not shadow. Their bond dawned, she joined warehouse talks, her insights on fair wages sharpening your trade. At village gatherings, Kwadwo presented, my wife, Akosombo, wisdom of the waves. Guests murmured, once rumors of the burn help fade into awe. Nerves gripped her at first, but Kwadwo whispered, you shine here. Yohan Adwa beamed, Adwa tearing at his chair pose, you're smiling at her tales. One noon, let's journey to Ada, your roots. Us, free. Akosombo's heart soared, travel. With joy. Yes, because I crave your side. That night, not duty, I love you. Belief flowered. Months on, Akosombo clutched a test strip in the outhouse, pink line stuck. Knees buckled, a child, ours. Trembling, hand to belly, miracle from ashes. Kwadwo entered, Akosombo. She turned, voice quaking, where with child. Joy cracked his face, he swept her up, spinning gently. Our legacy. Laughter pealed. Adwa wailed happily, hugging, blessing beyond gold. You gripped Kwadwo, guard her, prove your new heart. Kwadwo transformed, ensuring her rest, light loads, no stresses. Nights, ear to belly, you know only love, little one, no shadows. Akosombo watched, awed, the schooner now sentinel. Birds stormed in, rains lashing the compound. At a Timpaku clinic, Akosombo labored, cries mingling with thunder. Kwadwo clasped her hand, brave as ancestors, you prevail. Helpless, he whispered strengths. Hours bled, then, twins. A boy and girl, wails harmonizing. Tears streamed as Kwadwo held them, tiny fists, eyes like Akosombo's. Kissing her brow, you birthed our world. Adwa sobbed over grandbabies, you beamed, our line indoors. Twins reshaped rhythms, cries chasing giggles through the compound. Adwa doted with tiny wrappers, Kent booties, you paraded them to traders, my blood's future. Kwadwo rose for feats, fumbling swaddles, learning, Akosombo teased, love deepening. The once fearful home ran with lullabies, splashes in wash basins. Yohan Adwa found absolution in the babe's eyes, spoiling redeemed. Warehouse whispers turned to nods, Kwadwo entered humbly, meadows his refrain. Cafeteria seats with laborers drew tales, I was ash before, thought wealth crowned me. Wrong. You teach me. Respect flowered, genuine. Akosombo visited, Kwadwo proud, my strength, Akosombo. Staff smiled, she tamed the lion. To Ada they journeyed, her village gasping at the SUV. Akosombo alit, kin embraced. Kwadwo shook hands, gifted schoolbooks, feasts. For the waves' children. Akosombo's brothers beamed, her soul mended. Driving back, healing's peace found, she murmured. He kissed her hair, you granted mine. Years wove on, compound alive with twins' romps, chasing chickens, splashing puddles. Adwa sneaked sweets, your spun business yarns, Kwadwo tumbled in dirt, laughter free. One golden dusk in the garden, Kwadwo held tiny hands by the fish pond. Akosombo watched from a stool, Yo and Adwa beside. Yo mused, we overfed his pride once. But you, Akosombo, you carved him true. Adwa nodded, teary, saved our heart. Akosombo's eyes misted at Kwadwo's joy chase. He approached, kissing her, you redeemed me. She smiled, you chose the path. From kettle's curse to cradle song, Kwadwo's are closed, the scorner now sage. Scars lingered, faint badges of survivor, love's forge. As sun dipped, he vowed, our young know humility, not thrones. Akosombo leaned in, then we've triumphed. In Akosombo's embrace, cruelty's embers cooled to love's eternal flame, a tale where pain birthed paradise. If you made it to the end of this heartfelt tale of arrogance turned to ashes and love blooming from the Volta's thorny shores, my friend, then you've journeyed deep into the soul of Akosombo, where pride once scorched like harmattan fire, but redemption rose sweeter than fresh sobolo on a dusty dawn. I hope Kwadwo and Akosombo's story stirred your spirit, reminding us that even the deepest scars can weave into Kente threads of grace. If it touched you, hit that like button generously. It's like pouring libations to the ancestors, fueling more stories from Ghana's vibrant heart. And don't forget to subscribe with that little bell turned on, so you never miss the next saga, tales of resilience, romance, and the unyielding rhythm of African hearts. What hit home for you? Did yours justice feel like tough love, or Akosombo's strength steal the show? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one, and who knows, your wisdom might inspire the next chapter. Akoba back soon for more. Until then, stay rooted, stay kind. Medos.